Hello everybody, welcome to another True Review. I'm of course True, your Million G Gamer, and this is Boss 101 on the Xbox One. It's currently available on the marketplace as we speak, and it's priced at £12.49 in the UK. Boss 101 is a story about a boy, his jetpack and millions of randomly generated bosses. It's also about friendship, family and fun. Join Max and S.T.E.V.E. as the adventure across the galaxy, battling the baddies and saving the day. Boss 101 is an arcade shooter and much more. We procedurally generated levels, bosses and gameplay. On top of that, we're bringing you as much humour and entertainment as possible while you play. We made Boss 101 as a complete story. We hope you enjoy every part of the game, but there are recommendations depending on your playstyle. Style 1, I want it all. Style 2, no tutorials but story is fine. And Style 3, all action, skip cutscenes, etc, etc. So yeah, Boss 101 is a shooter at heart. It's a boss shooter. You literally can create your own boss. While you don't have direct control over the exact pieces, every time you go into a stage there is a boss mixer or a boss randomizer, and you can keep clicking it as many times as you want at no cost to you whatsoever, so you can find a boss that you want to face. Certain bosses will be weak to certain weapons, certain bosses will be worth more money so you can buy upgrades and stuff, and certain bosses will be made of different parts from a massive pool of parts available to the game. There is literally, I don't know how many there is, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's hundreds of thousands, even millions of different combinations that you can have due to the multitude of heads, arms, legs, bodies, that you can create. Now, in terms of graphics, it is pixel art, so a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with that. You either love it or you hate it. I personally love that style. It's kind of like coming from an era of video games when video games first started. That's kind of what we wanted video games to look like back in the day, but obviously they didn't. So it's kind of like a modern kind of retro feel with the pixel art, which I love to pieces. And there's so much customizability in this game, it is unreal. There is over 200 characters, I think maybe over 300 characters in fact, that you can unlock and buy to customize how you want to actually look. There is also hats you can apply and costumes you can apply as well. Now what the thing with the hats is, they have cleverly implemented. So in terms of graphics, we're looking at a pixel art style. Now I know some people love that style and some people hate it. I personally like it when it's done well and it's not just put in there just for ease of ease of development. But pixel art really suits shooters perfectly because it is an old school genre and it just works really well. Now the amount of different pieces of the bosses is astronomical. They're all clearly defined, they're all individual. You can see crocodile heads, monkey heads, cat heads, robot heads, insect kind of heads, rocket arms, crane arms, pincer legs, multiple insect legs as well, tails, heads, you name it. There's a multitude of minions as well, which are clearly defined. Some of them are just simple little guys on jetpacks. Other ones are like pterodactyls that come and attack you and fire laser beams from them. It's all beautifully done, and the amount of stuff it throws on screen at you at times is absolutely crazy, especially when they're all procedurally generated as well. But at heart, it is a boss shooter, so you are literally just trying to take down the boss. In between levels, you have a few things to look at. You have the pet home area where you can assign a pet, which doesn't really do anything in terms of gameplay, but it just makes a cosmetic pet that follows you around on certain cutscenes. You've got the main command center where you can fly a kite, you can speak to your commander-in-chief when she rings the hotline, you can talk to visitors, you can talk to any of the other interactable characters, go to upgrade menus, you name it. There's an awful lot to do here, and there's also even a button which says do not push, which you can push if you so wish to do so to find out what happens. Moving on to sound, let's have a little listen. So sound's a really strong point. It's got a real arcadey, fun, fast-paced soundtrack to it. There's a number of different tunes out there which wouldn't look out of place, or sound out of place rather, in a an 80s arcade shoot 'em up game. They are done to that higher standard. I mean, this project as a whole is done by a very small development team at Donnelly Time Foundations, and it's took them an awful they've took an awful long time to make this game, and you can see the amount of love and effort they've tried to put into this, and for the most part it does succeed. In terms of gameplay, you've got an awful lot of different weapons, from pistols, shotguns, multiple shots, lasers. You've got what else have you got? You've got nukes, you have a wrench that you can hit, you have ninja stars, you have knife weapons. There's an absolute ton of weapons, all of them that can be upgraded from levels 1 to 3. And these make a big difference, because when you randomly generate a boss, it will tell you a number of weapons it's weak against and a number of weapons it's strong against. So it's important you pick a weapon or have a weapon that is weak against it, because that will drain the boss's health like crazy. If you find a weapon that's resistant against, then the opposite will happen. You will find you are doing very, very little damage. To keep things fresh and interesting, there's a number of challenge badges that need to be obtained in each and every stage. There's some staple ones that go through the entire amount of the 31 stages there, such as you've got to kill the boss in a certain amount of time, finish it off with a nuke, beat it only by using your default machine gun. There's one for not losing the first health bar, and a number of other ones which are, like I say, across the board. And on certain levels as well, they are hidden gophers which you have to collect. They will fly on the screen on random, and you have to literally bump into them to rescue them and then complete the level to get them. And they can be pretty hard to spot sometimes due to the hectic nature of the bullets flying about and the boss firing big laser beams and everything, but it does tell you which levels you have them on and which ones you don't, and which ones they are actually present on in the first place. There's also a few other miscellaneous badges as well. There's 3 levels with visitors which you have to, or escort missions where you have to defend a UFO which is following you, and it's a big ass UFO that's behind you, so it is susceptible to quite a lot of enemy fire there. You just got to get through the level as quick as you can with that intact to meet that objective. And there is also 3 levels where you have to avoid shooting some dolphins that appear as well, to get a nice little bit of help towards the end of the game if you manage to pull that off. So with the boss generator, I'd say there's millions and millions of different combinations. Hopefully I've shown a very small portion of the different kind of creatures and monstrosities you can create on the board there. It would have been nice that maybe once that you have faced all the pieces, that you could maybe just manually tailor a boss to specific requirements, specific look, and maybe a way to actually just fight the bosses which comprise of all one set of pieces. That would have been a nice feature to have, but it doesn't really detract from anything really. There's enough to be killing here in the first place. If you're a little sidetracked from the main game itself, you do have areas you can visit in the command hub, such as the flying a kite area, which has some nice storylines and some funny moments in there. There's also the pet home, where you can assign yourself a random pet which follows you around in the hub area. There's also the upgrade menu, where you can spend your hard-earned cash for defeating bosses on making your weapon stronger, giving you more health, unlocking higher tier weapons for example, or giving you more nukes. So there is that to customize and fully upgrade your character there, to make taking down the bosses very, very easy. One more thing about the bosses, there are 4 default bosses which form levels, I think it's 10, 20 and 30, and then level 31 is boss 101, which you have to fight. They are standard bosses and some of the best in the game really. I would have liked to have seen more of these staple bosses put in there. There's the first one's a Jolly Roger, a big pirate ship with a big skull and crossbones face on there. The second one's a big massive train with loads of different compartments, reminding me of the epic stage 3 R-type fight, where you have to go through various different attack patterns and stages, slowly dismantling the giant enemy. There's one other final distraction as well. If you want to move away from the main game, there is a couple of classic old school arcade games which do have achievements attached to them. There's a breakout one, there is a tank command one, where you have to move around in a tank and fire your rotating turret around, taking other tanks out. And the final one is a classic take-home like Wizards of War, where you have to, a bit like a kind of a Pac-Man maze game, but with when you've got to shoot enemies and you've got to get a certain amount of score in each of those games to get an achievement. Also, the game is very text heavy in other areas as well, such as story developments, lots of in-jokes, lots of jokes going on there, social commentary and things, and loads of jokes between the characters. There is an awful lot of areas where there's a lot of reading prior to a mission launching and after a mission finishing as well. With humour, it's one of those subjective things, isn't it? Some of it I found funny, some of it I didn't. You can easily skip it if you're not interested in that, or even turn it off completely, so they have catered for that. So I would suggest when you first start playing the game to go with everything on, switch everything on. If you don't like it, if you're not into that kind of humour, just switch it off and just enjoy a brilliant shoot 'em up. So if you haven't guessed already, I am going to give Boss 101 a definite buy recommendation. It's a fun shoot 'em up, it's great value for money, it's not too bad on the achievements as well if you want a 1000 gamer score, and you'll just have a good old time playing a good solid shooter. So thanks everybody for watching. If you like the review, please remember to hit that like button, and most of all that subscribe button. It does really help me, and I'll catch you on the next one.